What's up, Kansas City? This is Chief Kazuma Ma'akaru, representative of the Black United Front, also Chief Elder of True Temple of Ma'at. And I am sitting here with Dr., if you allow me to say Dr. Harry Jones of the African American Civil War Museum out of Washington, D.C. And we are excited and we are privileged to have him here in Kansas City on a very, very awesome occasion, an event called Juneteenth. And there is no other person that I have found to be more aware and more knowledgeable of the truth about this event and this time of the year, except this brother that's sitting right next to me. So we will want to, I'm going to allow him, first of all, just to introduce himself to Kansas City. Doctor, you in your own words, just greet Kansas City in your DC way.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Harry Jones, and I'm originally from Oklahoma, so I'm not far from home. So I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, but I'm originally from Oklahoma.
Right.
I curated the exhibit at the African American Civil War Museum there in Washington, D.C., where we tell the story of the African American freedom fighters, soldiers, sailors, special agents, spies, guides, scouts, nurses, who helped save this union and freed themselves by enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation.
Wow. You said, now say it again. Save this union and freed who?
Saved the union, freed themselves.
Wow.
By enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation. And that's the importance of Juneteenth.
Okay.
You know, Juneteenth is often advertised as the day the slaves in Texas got the word. They learned that they had been freed by the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, no one was freed by the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863.
Say that again.
No one was freed by the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863.
Y'all hear that, KC? Did y'all hear that? Okay.
And the reason no one was freed is because it only applied to the 10 states that were in a bloody war against the United States for their independence. And Frederick Douglass had made it known, made it very clear, that the only way the Emancipation Proclamation was going to free any slaves is, quote, we must have the ability to put down the rebellion, close quote. Now I want you to appreciate his language. Elder Douglass did not say they must have the ability.
Okay.
He said we must have the ability.
Okay.
So we understood from the time that proclamation was issued that if anyone was going to be free, we were going to have to defeat the Confederates. We were going to have to defeat the rebels, suppress that rebellion, and save the Union. We understood this.
Okay.
And so the Emancipation Proclamation was really a cry for help to us, persons of African descent. And again, this is understood. Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy, he probably understood it better than anybody else. He tells the Confederate legislature in January of 1863 that the Emancipation Proclamation was, quote, an authentic statement by the government of the United States of its inability to subjugate the South by force of arms, close quote. In other words, the Emancipation Proclamation is being issued because they know they can't defeat us, the rebels, without our Negroes, close quote. That's what he's saying.
Okay.
And so the Emancipation Proclamation begins a military campaign by our people to save the Union and thus free ourselves.
Wow.
So Juneteenth is significant because it's the end of the military campaign.
Okay.
It's not because that's when they got the word.
Right.
It's because it's the last of the 10 states to be brought back in the Union, and the mission isn't just to free one state, it was to free everybody on this military campaign.
Right. Okay.
And it is a tradition of people in the history of the world, of warriors, to celebrate when victorious military campaigns come to an end.
Okay.
We have Veterans Day, Armistice Day. That's the end of World War I, and we celebrate this and we recognize all veterans. So Juneteenth is a similar type celebration.
Okay.
And we're not celebrating when the last slaves were set free because there were states that weren't in rebellion, like Delaware and Kentucky, that the Emancipation Proclamation didn't apply to, and slavery was still legal in June of 1865. So when people say, oh, but we celebrate when the last slave said, no, you're not. That's not true. What you are celebrating is the end of a successful military campaign. And we just need to get this right. We need to tell the story accurately. Okay. Don't say it's when some Caucasian man rode up on a horse, came and told us that we's be free. That is not true.
Y'all hear that? That is not true. Now, recently we just celebrated Memorial Day. Now, in your opinion, in terms of of that perception, that disguise, that cover-up, in terms of the actual origin of Memorial Day?
See, now, Memorial Day is common among peoples of the world.
Okay.
It's a very common warrior history of recognizing the fallen in battle.
Okay.
And decorate their grave sites.
Okay.
After the Civil War, African Americans, really across the country in a number of places, I say across the South, I should say more specifically, and one of the most prominent, they have a photograph of it, is an event in South Carolina.
That's the one, right, right.
And what they do is they recognize these fallen who have fought to effectively end slavery. And so they reinter them and they decorate their graves.
Okay.
They remember the sacrifice made for freedom. And so this becomes initially Decoration Day in the United States. Mm-hmm. And it's Senator John Logan, who had been a general during the Civil War, had high respect for African American soldiers too. Okay. He thought that we were the LeBron James of warfare.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
But Logan is actually the one that gets the legislation passed to establish Decoration Day. But the actual act that gets caught on film, if you will, the photograph, and then the activities of African Americans, to really again throughout the South, of giving these proper burials to fallen soldiers and decorating their graves, becomes what we know of as Memorial Day.
Okay. Okay.
But I do want to point out that this is a common practice among people who go to war. Right. Whether we're talking Asia, Africa, or Europe.
Whoever. Right.
This is this of decorating the graves of those who have fallen, sacrificed for the society.
Okay. What do you have to say in review of the perception that the masses have been given in regard to the truth about what has happened during the Civil War, even during the era of integration and during those periods of time? I mean, this whole concept of perception, a denial of the truth, the plagiarism. What's your view on and what should our approach should be in terms of really finding the truth or getting to the truth?
One of the crises in the history of African descent people in America is what is a relatively recent crisis. Okay. Probably one of the lowest points in race relations is this period between 1880 and 1960. Okay. And during this period, we are attacked on many fronts. You have the Ku Klux Klan, which is an active terrorist group. Okay. Active terrorist campaign being waged against our community. Okay. Then you have a concerted effort to miseducate us through a very strategic propaganda campaign. Highly successful. There are two major aspects to this campaign. One is the Ivy League schools. Okay. With Beard at Harvard, Charles Beard at Harvard. Okay. Woodrow Wilson at Princeton. William Archibald Dunning at Columbia. Okay. I call it the triangle of academic white supremacy, or white illusionist. All right. I don't like to say supremacy because it's really an illusion of supremacy.
I got that.
So it's this triangle of Ivy League schools. And so one of the, Dr. Du Bois, an Ivy Leaguer himself, points out that one of their goals was to teach us that we're all ignorant. So when you begin to talk about something like who could read and write, well, since it was against the law, we got a lot of people say, therefore Negroes couldn't read and write. Right. Okay. And so we overlook all those who not only could read, and did write. So Mary Ann Shadd Carey, who wrote a book at 25 called Hints to the Colored People of the North, telling you to buy among yourselves, buy black if you will. All right. Keep it in the circle. Okay. Be a producer, not a consumer. Okay. That's a 25-year-old woman in 1849. Wow. So, but she gets covered up, if you will, when I'm trying to teach that all Negroes are ignorant. So this becomes a very important part of this propaganda campaign. And so our heroes and sheroes get lost through an active campaign. Then there's another important aspect to this, and it's penetrating the HBCUs. They bring over Eastern Europeans, like Horowitz at Howard University, who really don't know our history, don't have respect for our forefathers, So you get the African Studies program at Howard, who was actually introduced about 7 or 8 years before Horowitz even shows up on the campus of Howard by William Leo Hansberry. And Dr. Hansberry would teach you of the great civilizations of Africa, that this is a part of our roots. Horowitz would come in and teach us about the beaten down Negro and how he needs a communist revolution. He needs Marxism is ultimately what he's teaching.
Right.
And create a conflict, but there would be a conflict created between the Eastern European and the African American, William Leo Hansberry.
Right.
And Hansberry would be marginalized. And so the young students that even wind up in SNCC like a Stokely Carmichael, he's not influenced by Hansberry, he's influenced by Horowitz.
Wow.
So a very successful propaganda campaign. And you see this manifest in a number of things. And I appeal to a lot of people because a lot of us have been victims of this.
I got that point. Yes.
A lot of us have been victims of it, and we don't tend to be victims.
Right.
But it's important once you identify where certain things are coming from that you recognize and don't stick to what's wrong. You know, Proverbs 9 and 8 says, a mocker, a scorner, he'll hate the person that rebukes him. But a wise man, a lover person rebukes him. So sometimes we need to get rebuked.
Exactly.
To get it right. And one of the examples of this and the effects on it would be with Martin Delany.
Okay.
He's one of the clearest examples. Major Delany, Major, United States Army. Judge Delany, a judge in South Carolina during the Reconstruction era.
Talk to us, yeah.
He described himself as a true patriot. In fact, he would actually say that the founders, because they weren't true to the creed, that all men are created equal and endowed by the creator with certain unalienable rights.
Right.
Because they weren't true to it, because they didn't seek to achieve the goal in the Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and posterity, for everybody, and all in the body politic, that they were really hypocrites. But he'd say, I'm a true patriot because I'm willing to sacrifice my life to ensure that all in the body politic have this rights, this liberty is secured for them.
Okay.
So he described himself as a true patriot. However, in 1871 in particular, there's legislation in Congress. And this legislation has been requested by President Ulysses S. Grant as an enforcement section of the 14th Amendment. Because he said there's outrages in the South. And these outrages were being committed by the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
So he wanted Congress to give him the authority to enforce the 14th Amendment, lift the writ of habeas corpus, so his spies could work inside the Klan so he could bring them to justice. Well, in the debate, the Klan is actually saying, well, you know, really it's these Negroes in the Loyal League. It's these Negroes like Delany, because they're trying to build a black empire. They're black nationalists.
Okay.
So today, when we get African American scholars saying Martin Delany was a black nationalist, I've heard something, he's the first black nationalist. They need to understand the legacy. They need to understand that understanding of Delany does not come from Delany,
Right.
but comes from the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
So they become the mouthpiece, unintentionally. Of course, they don't want to do this, but they unintentionally become the mouthpiece of the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
And so this has happened to us. We do a number of things, and I'll just give you another example of it. I can't tell you how many. Just last night, young African Americans said, "Oh, we're not Americans. This ain't just we're not citizens." They said we weren't citizens. They said it. So you gonna give up your house because somebody come in, an immigrant? You get an immigrant from Germany come in and say, "Oh, this ain't yours. It's mine because I'm white." And you gonna say, "Okay,
Okay.
it's yours."
Yes. Yes, master.
Who does this? Who said you wasn't a citizen? People who did not want you to have your rights, your enemy. So am I going to take Judge Taney in the Dred Scott decision to define? Now, many people are taught this because that's actually what these Eastern Europeans taught you.
Exactly.
Eastern Europeans at the HBCUs taught you really wasn't a citizen because on the Supreme Court, Judge Taney said you wasn't a citizen. Well, Dr. John S. Rock, African-American lawyer, doctor, physician, school teacher. Now, he's the first African-American lawyer to be admitted to the bar of the U.S. Supreme Court. He said, Judge Taney has tried to outlaw the black man, but the black man will outlive Judge Taney.
Okay.
In other words, I'm not taking his word on it. This is my enemy. I do not let my enemy come and claim my property, my identity, my citizenship, David Walker, 29. In David Walker's appeal, he said, if you're going to try to run me out this country, oh, do you understand you're trying to run me out my house, and I'm going to defend myself.
My house. Right.
I'm going to defend myself. Mariah Stewart, his protege, said, in order to do, you're going to have to pierce me in my heart. And basically she said, you're going to have to drag me with that sword in my heart away.
Okay.
Because I'm not giving up what's mine. See, but again, this is a part of the successful propaganda campaign. We've been taught that it's not ours.
Okay. On that note, for the benefit of those who may want some clarity, what will be your definition of a citizen?
Well, I'm going to use what we put in amendment.
Okay.
In the amendment, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't foggy, that we addressed it, so we got an amendment to the Constitution. That was a part of a program.
Okay.
And when you track the conventions of free men of color in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, you see they have a clear agenda. One is to abolish slavery, other is to gain your rights as citizens. The Dred Scott decision created a situation where we had to define it in the Constitution.
Okay.
So you get this in the 15th Amendment. And this recognition of birthright citizenship.
Okay.
So basically, this is your house by birthright.
Okay.
This is your inheritance.
Got that. Okay.
So in the case that we're talking about right now, there are ways to be naturalized. But in the case of this African descent community, this is birthright. Now see, there's also something else important here to me, birthright. Because if my birthright is to a great estate, but I've yet to receive my inheritance, I ain't about to leave.
I got that.
I'm not about to leave. I'm not leaving my inheritance there for somebody. If I do nothing else, I'll set the next generation up to collect on it.
Got that.
And so I'm defined as a birthright. And this is what Delaney says too. Delaney says we have a birthright citizenship. And there is no law that can annul this. None.
Okay.
Delaney writes that in 1842. Correction, 1852.
Okay.
Birthright citizenship. So I'm defined as our birthright.
Okay. Okay.
And what you build. See, there's also the history that we know. You put the bricks in mortar. Your blood is in the mortar.
Yes. Wow.
How you gonna leave what you built? How you gonna say it belongs to somebody else because of a court decision by a slaveholder?
Exactly.
No, I'm not recognizing Judge Taney.
Okay.
Judge Taney's in his grave today, and I'm dancing as an American citizen.
What would you say then to our younger generation, the now generation now that's coming along? Because, you know, we live in this age of Aquarius, the age of information now, where information is really running rampant. In terms of a young person really seeking the truth and from a historical standpoint, what would you recommend them to do in terms of putting things in perspective according to how it really is in truth?
Dig deep.
Dig deep. Okay.
Dig deep. The deeper your roots, the more stable your tree.
Ah, I like that.
See, a wind comes in. If you got shallow roots,
Ooh.
the wind will blow the tree down.
Okay. Y'all hear that, Kansas City? Say that again, brother.
The deeper your roots, the safer your tree. Wow. So you can get the storm, you can get a tornado, you can get a gust that'll make the limbs of the tree bow down and touch the ground.
Wow.
But because your roots are so deep, you come back up.
I'm loving it, man.
You can have a flood that'll remove the earth, and all those trees with shallow roots will go down the river. They'll be in the Missouri River. But those with the deep roots, they'll be there for seasons to come.
Wow.
So dig deep.
And the fact that our roots do run very, very deep.
Yes.
So we have to keep digging.
Yes. Just keep digging. You know, you can start now, but then just dig deep into it, and don't say that you're restricted to the American experience.
Okay.
Your experience is an African experience, and because of the invasion of Europe by Africans, your experience is also a European experience. You need to understand that you are international before the slave trade.
All right. Kansas City, it has been a privilege and an honor for me to sit in here to have witnessed and interviewed this brother who is here in KC tonight. He will be at the archives at tonight.
This is brought to you by the Black United Front, the Greater Kansas City Area Chapter.